Tinker Bell is a fictional character from J.M.Barrie's 1904 play Peter Pan and its 1911 novelization Peter and Wendy. She has appeared in multiple film and television adaptations of the Peter Pan stories, in particular the 1953 animated Walt Disney picture Peter Pan. She also appears in the official sequel Peter Pan in Scarlet by Geraldine McCree and commissioned by Great Ormond Street Hospital, as well as the Peter and the Starcatchers book series by Ridley Pearson and J.M.Barrie. At first only a supporting character described by her creator as a common fairy, her animated incarnation was a hit and has since become a widely recognized unofficial mascot of the Walt Disney Company, and the centerpiece of its Disney Fairies media franchise, including the direct-to-DVD film series Tinker Bell and Walt Disney's Wonderful World of Color in original play and novel. Barrie described Tinker Bell, the fairy who mended pots and kettles, an actual tinker of the fairy folk. Her speech consists of the sounds of a tinkling bell, which is understandable only to those familiar with the language of the fairies. Though sometimes ill-tempered, spoiled, jealous, vindictive and inquisitive, she is also helpful and kind to Peter. The extremes in her personality are explained in the story by the fact that a fairy's size prevents her from holding more than one feeling at a time, so when she is angry she has no counterbalancing compassion. Fairies can enable others to fly by sprinkling them with fairy dust. At the end of the novel, when Peter flies back to find an older Wendy, it is mentioned that Tinker Bell died in the year after Wendy and her brothers left Neverland, and Peter no longer remembers her. On stage, in the original stage productions, Tinker Bell was represented on stage by a darting light created by a small mirror held in the hand off stage and reflecting a little circle of light from a powerful lamp, and her voice was a collar of bells and two special ones that Barrie brought from Switzerland. However, Jane Wren was listed among the cast on the programs as playing Tinker Bell. This was a joke which also helped with the mystique of the fairy character, and fooled H.M. Inspector of Taxes, who sent Jane Wren a tax demand. In the musical version of the play, she was also represented by a darting light, accompanied by a celesta. Her favorite insult is "you silly ass," which the audience learns to recognize because it is always represented by the same motif, 4 notes, followed by a growl on the bassoon. In film adaptations provided the first vocal effects for the character, whether through sound, such as musical expressions of the sound of a tinkling bell, or human speech. Peter Pan Tinker Bell was played by Virginia Brown Fair. Disney. In the 1953 animated Peter Pan film, the character was animated and had no dialogue. Tinker Bell has become one of Disney's most important branding icons for over half a century, and is generally known as a symbol of the magic of Disney. Quote, "She has been featured in television commercials and program opening credits sprinkling pixie dust with a wand in order to shower a magical feeling over various other Disney personalities, though the 1953 animated version of Tinker Bell never actually used a wand. In the picture and the official Disney character archives, she is referred to as a pixie. There is an urban legend that the original animated version of Tinker Bell was modeled after Marilyn Monroe. However, Disney animator Mark Davis's reference was actress Margaret Carey. He illustrated Tinker Bell as a young, attractive, blonde-haired, big blue-eyed, white female with an exaggerated hourglass figure. She is clad in a short bright green dress with a rigid trim, and green slippers with white puffs. She is trailed by small amounts of pixie dust when she moves, and the dust can help humans fly if they think happy thoughts. Since 1954, Tinker Bell has featured as a hostess for much of Disney's live-action television programming and in every Disney film advertisements flying over Disneyland with her magic wand and her fairy dust. Beginning with Disneyland to Walt Disney presents Walt Disney's Wonderful World of Color and the Wonderful World of Disney. In 1988, she appeared in the final shot of the ending scene of Disney's Who Framed Roger Rabbit, along with Porky Pig, sprinkling fairy dust on the screen after Porky's trademark farewell as it goes black prior to the closing credits. She also starred alongside other Disney characters, such as Chip and Dale, in many Disney comics, where she was also able to speak. Tinker Bell also appears as a summon in the Kingdom Hearts series of video games and the card appearance in the video game Mickey's Memory Challenge, on 1993. At Disneyland, Tinker Bell is prominently featured in Peter Pan's Flight, a suspended dark ride based on the artwork from the animated film. Beginning in 1961, she was also featured as a live performer who flew through the sky suspended from a wire from the top of the Matterhorn bobsled ride at the beginning of the nightly fireworks displays. She was originally played by 71-year-old former circus performer Tiny Klein, up until her retirement 3 years later. On the 2008 Walt Disney World Christmas Day Parade special on ABC, Disney announced that a Tinker Bell float would be added to the classic Disney's Electrical Parade at Disney California Adventure Park at the Disneyland Resort, the first new float to be added decades. Disney Fairies. Tinker Bell was originally a part of the Disney Princess franchise, from which she was later extracted and converted into the central character of the new Disney Fairies franchise in 2005. In addition to an extensive line of merchandise, 2008's Tinker Bell film is the first of 5 direct-to-DVD features set in Pixie Hollow. Tinker Bell is voiced by Mae Whitman in these digitally animated DVD features. At Disneyland, a Pixie Hollow meet-and-greet area opened on October 28, 2008, near the Matterhorn, where guests are able to interact with Tinker Bell and her companions. A similar area called Tinker Bell's Magical Nook is in Adventureland at Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom in Florida. In November 2009, Tinker Bell became the smallest waxwork ever to be made at Madame Tussauds, measuring only 5.5 inches. On September 21, 2010, Tinker Bell was presented with the 2,418th star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, becoming the 13th fictional character and the 6th Disney character to receive this honor. Tinker Bell's star celebrated Hollywood Walk of Fame's 50th anniversary. Since 2012's Secret of the Wings, Tinker Bell was the first Disney fairy to have a sibling, a twin sister named Periwinkle. Hook. Julia Roberts played Tinker Bell in this film, which looks at a Peter Pan who returned to England for good after falling in love with Wendy's granddaughter. His decision to stay causing him to lose all memory of his past. When Hook returns and abducts Peter's children, Tinker Bell returns to take Peter back to Neverland, convincing Hook to agree to a 3-day waiting period until his final battle when he realizes that Peter has forgotten his past. After Peter truly regains his memories of his childhood, Tinker Bell expresses romantic interest in the adult Peter for a time, although she accepts his need to save his children and be there for his family. After he returns to London, Tinker Bell appears to him one last time on the statue in Kensington Gardens, telling him that she will always be there to love him in the moments between dreaming and waking. Peter Pan. P.J. Hogan originally planned to use a computer-generated version of the character, but instead used Ludivine Sagnier in combinations with digital models and effects to take advantage of the actress's expressions. Other literary works. Peter Pan in Scarlet. Tinker Bell returns in the official sequel Peter Pan in Scarlet, when Wendy and the rest of the group reach Neverland and ask Peter where she is. He replies that he does not know anyone by the name Tinker Bell, which is explained as him not remembering her after she died. She is mentioned by Wendy and the rest of the Lost Boys to Firefly, a silly blue fairy, who when he reaches the top of Neverpeak, makes the wish to meet her. When they open Captain Hook's treasure chest, among other things, Tinker Bell is seen inside it to Firefly's joy. Initially, Tinker Bell does not like him, but eventually she comes to see that Firefly is not as bad as he seems to be. In the end, they get married and start selling dreams to the roamers, previous Lost Boys that have been outcast by Peter, while having many adventures. Peter and the Starcatchers. In J.M.Barrie and Ridley Pearson's Peter and the Starcatchers book series, Tinker Bell makes her first appearance at the end of the first novel. Originally, she was a green and yellow-colored bird who was put in a bag of star stuff, turning her into a fairy. Molly's father, the famous Starcatcher Lord Leonard Astor, made her Peter's guardian and she follows him on all of his adventures. She doesn't like being called a fairy and would much rather be called Bird Woman because of her origins. She is very protective of Peter and hates his paying attention to any other female. She can be very impolite to others. She is also able to emit a very bright light, which she uses as an attack against other creatures, especially Lord Umbra, one of the main villains of the series. On television, Tinker Bell was voiced by J.M.Barrie in the 1990 Fox animated program Peter Pan and the Pirates. Sumi Shimamoto in the 1987 anime series The Adventures of Peter Pan. Keira Knightley in the 2011 Neverland mini-series. In Peter Pan Live, a made-for-TV production of the Peter Pan musical broadcast by NBC in 2014, a computer-generated version of Tinker Bell was used, controlled live by a technician. The live-rendered Tinker Bell could change sizes and colors to represent different feelings. Once upon a time, actress Rose McIver portrayed Tinker Bell in Season 3 of ABC's Once Upon a Time, debuting in the episode Quite a Common Fairy. She tried to help Regina, the evil queen, to begin a romance with Robin Hood, but Regina failed her, because she tried to help Regina by stealing pixie dust. She was stripped of her powers by the Blue Fairy and was living on her own in Neverland. Her wings were returned to her by the Blue Fairy, Mother Superior, when she once again believed in herself. Peter and Aunt Wendy. In the Peter and Aunt Wendy ITV film, Tinker Bell was played by Paloma Faith. In art, in addition to the illustrations in the original editions of Peter Pan, Tinker Bell has also been depicted by fantasy artists such as Brian Froud and Mireille Petit. She also appears in the edition of Peter Pan in Scarlet illustrated by David Wyatt. A bronze sculpture of Tinker Bell by London artist Diarmaid Byron O'Connor was commissioned by Great Ormond Street Hospital, to whom Barrie bequeathed the copyright to the character, to be added to his original 4-foot statue of Peter Pan, resting a thimble from Peter's finger. The figure has a 9.5-inch wingspan and is 7 inches tall, and was unveiled on the 29th of September 2005 by Sophie, Countess of Wessex. Tinker Bell in other languages. When translated into other languages, Tinker Bell's name is sometimes rendered more or less phonetically, but is often replaced by a name that evokes her character, or one that refers to a bell or represents its sound.